How does this image look to you? Because anyone with a single ounce of humanity in their body would say that this looks like the epitome of unethicalness. This picture was taken in 2019. In 2019, in the country that supposedly symbolizes freedom, there are young, defenseless children being locked up in cages. In the US, newly detained immigrants are held in extremely cold cells for days at a time. These cold cells are even referred to by immigrants as hieleras, or freezers in Spanish, because of their extremely low temperatures. The conditions of these cells are unspeakable. Most of the time, the immigrants that are held in these cells don't even get to take showers or even wash their hands. They are denied of their basic hygienic practices. These immigrants are being treated as less than human beings. They are being stripped of their dignity and at times even stripped away from their families. The conditions in these cells are not new either. They have been occurring since 2014. Regardless of the cold, freezing temperatures in the cells, these detention officers still force many women and children to take off everything and only wear a single layer of clothing. These detained immigrants are at times forced to spend several nights sleeping on the floor in this freezing cell without blankets. This is even worse than how the US treats those who are imprisoned. These officials have no issue treating these immigrants as if they were animals. Although there are guidelines and rules in place for these types of facilities, most officers do not care for these rules and treat these detainees however as they please, even forgetting at times to feed the children. These officers also have no issue with separating these families into separate cells. These officials are trying to punish these immigrants for a situation that they have no dictation over. What the U.S. immigration policymakers fail to realize is that these people are going through these extreme processes for a very good reason. It is not easy for these immigrants to come into America. In fact, hundreds of these migrants lose their lives on their way here. This is just representative that they are not just coming here for any reason at all, or to steal American jobs, as our lovely president puts it. If people understood the violence and the dilemmas that these immigrants are facing in their own countries, they wouldn't be so quick to judge these parents for trying to bring their children into safer conditions, even if it's just to stay in a freezing cell for several days. But they are trying to escape is even larger. President Trump's previous zero-tolerance policy has affected the way that America handles immigrants for the worse. Under President Trump's past zero-tolerance policy, every single migrant, including asylum seekers who attempt to cross the U.S. borders anywhere other than an official port of entry, would have been detained and criminally prosecuted. Although President Trump has issued it has still caused a grand change on the way that Americans deal with immigrants. Even after this policy, the separations of family have still continued, hidden under reasons such as the parents posing a potential danger to the child, serious criminal records, or even gang affiliation. At times, families may even be separated when a parent is sick, or even if the child is being accompanied by a different family member. Aside from the unethicalness of the way that America handles immigration, there are still other economic reasons that America should change their way of handling immigration. Immigration detention facilities are pretty expensive. It costs America about $208 per person to hold an immigrant each day in one of these facilities. Now that we have discussed why America's immigration policy is so bad, I will propose an alternative and more ethical policy. I will begin by saying, Why should America tackle its long-term issue of mass immigration with a short-term solution? America is spending extreme sums of money on detaining and deporting immigrants, and it would be an amazing investment to handle this issue from its root. Regardless of how strict our laws may become, the amount of immigrants will always remain high unless the issues within their countries are resolved. An example of this is Mexico, which, after its economy grew, had seen a large decline in U.S. migration. The U.S. should work together with these Central American countries that constitute the most migration to the U.S. in order to come up with a long-term solution for the excessive immigration in the U.S. An example of this is Mexico, which after its economy grew had seen a massive decline in U.S. migration. We should work together with these Central American countries that constitute the most migration to the U.S. in order to come up with a long-term solution for the excessive immigration in the U.S. This is one of the most efficient long-term solutions that will not only strengthen the U.S. relations and alliances with these countries, but will also decrease the amount of immigration in the U.S. substantially and even lessen the budget needed to handle immigration issues. This is one of the most effective ways of dealing with what politicians call the immigration issue. Even if it may seem too far-fetched of a solution, there is still no reason for officials to treat immigrants like animals, strip them of their dignity, and even separate them from their mom, dad, or sister. The way that America is handling illegal immigrants can be improved. America handles and treats immigrants with slight xenophobia, and they can definitely treat immigrants with more compassion and deliberation, especially when there are so many things going on in these immigrants' own countries, which is what is causing them to flee to the U.S.